Welcome to Board Game Animal. My name is Justin. If you're someone who's looking to discover some new games, whether you're a fan of Uno or not, or you're someone in the hobby and you have friends, family, or acquaintances who you know have only played games like Uno and want to discover more, then this video is for you. Because we're going to address a couple questions. Why is Uno so popular? Why do people like it? And what other games are out there for people to discover? I've been wanting to make this video for a while. Because if you're someone who likes mass market card games like Uno or Phase 10, Skippo, that's great, that's fantastic. However, I can't tell you how often I've had conversations with folks who find out how much I like board games or card games, and they bring up games like these and say that they're the best ever, there's nothing like them. And it's happened so often, I wanted to address this. Even with places like Target and Barnes & Noble and such getting better about what options they have there, many folks still don't realize the depth and variety of games out there. So first, let me explain my thoughts on Uno. At the end of the day, Uno is the McDonald's of games. I really don't think that there's a better illustration for it. It's incredibly popular, you can get it just about anywhere, but ultimately at the end of the day, it doesn't have a lot of substance. No one is going to say that McDonald's is a 5-star restaurant, or the best option for eating out, or even the best option amongst different fast food burger places. It may be good and fine, and it may be convenient, but that's kind of where the line is drawn. And the same goes for Uno. At the end of the day, it's a game that really doesn't have much strategy or agency. It's fine, and it's a good time with friends. But like McDonald's, it doesn't have the aforementioned substance or quality. And I know the whole house rules thing and the infamous we'll take it from here and all that. But here's the thing, if McDonald's gave you frozen ingredients and said, do the rest yourself, that wouldn't make McDonald's a good restaurant, and thus doesn't make Uno a good game for basically doing the same thing. But hold on then, why do people like Uno so much and why does it sell so well? Mainly, there's 3 simple reasons. It's easy to learn and play. People like playing a named game that isn't played with just a traditional set of cards. It's cool to have something in its own unique little package. But ultimately, the biggest reason people like games like Uno so much is the interaction it creates around the table. They know it's a fun activity, a lighthearted activity that they're going to have a good time with family and friends. And so that's why today we're going to talk about 101, and in fact a little more games that are better than Uno. They deliver the same experience, but enhanced so much better, and are, at the end of the day, are just better quality games that I feel so many people are missing out on. So each game you're about to see isn't necessarily the same specific type of game that Uno is. However, each game here does fall into one of those 3 aforementioned reasons why people like Uno. And some obviously meet more or all of those. The games here fall into numerous genres of games, but are all card games. There's card shedding like Uno, the related genre of ladder climbing, trick-taking, hand management, battle games, riffs on traditional card games, and so much more. And we're going to look at these in different categories like style of game to make it easier for you to discover them. For the record, these are not in any particular order, but at the end of each category, I am going to tell you some of the standout favorites of mine. Games 1 through 22 are card shedding and ladder climbing games. Uno itself is a card shedding game. The point of all of these is to get those pesky cards out of your hand. So a lot of these will feel incredibly familiar to Uno fans, because most of them are in that card shedding element. Ladder climbing as a term specifically refers to when someone plays cards that the next person normally will have to top it in some way. For instance, if someone played a pair of 2s, someone else would play a pair of 4s. So let's break these down. First, here are some games that are essentially as simple as Uno, but somehow so much better. Get rid of the cards in your hand, often through bluffing, in the super interactive Spicy. Manage your hand in a Think Your Riff on Uno and get rid of the most dangerous cards in Llama, or the most recent printing Dump the Skunk. Get rid of pairs of cards at a time, sometimes higher numbers, sometimes lower, in Happy Mochi. You can't change the order of the cards in your hand, but you have a lot of clever choices in Jungo. Work to get as few cards in your hand as possible with the lowest values in 3, 2, 1 countdown. And very, very similar to Uno, but with a fun third element of having dog breeds you can match in Nuts About Mutts. Then we have card shedding games that are really a lot of fun for the whole family. Fill the cauldrons, but don't make any given one bust while working to get rid of your cards in Poison. Get rid of your cards by adding to a penguin pyramid, but watch out, colors can get eliminated in Penguin Party. Empty your hand, but potentially take your enemy's cards you beat in Nanatorodori. Imagine Uno if each different card had special powers, and you can do that in Capybara Cookie Club. Get rid of the cards in your hand in almost any way imaginable in Cheating Moth, and yes, you can actually cheat, it's in the rules. Add to a shared line of sequential cards, but only by having at least as many as the cards out there in I'm Out. Now some of these have a little funky extra rules, little something special, like being able to play cards in unique sets dictated by where an elevator is in Yonkai no Yokai. Play bite-sized rounds of card shedding in an addictive, tiny 2-player game, Crisps. What numbers are the strongest will constantly shift in the clever shedder Dickory. Be the first to burn through your entire deck of cards in the head-to-head Greasy Spoon. Help prisoners escape by playing a variety of sets of cards in 1 AM Jailbreak. Don't rearrange your hand, but you can pick the orientation of cards before you start in Scout. And of course, some of these have a lot of moving parts and a lot to parse, but they're very fulfilling and rewarding once you get to know them. Help dinosaurs drink sake in Tokori Taking. Get rid of cards, manage points, and stop the werewolves in Sears Catalog. Play a captivating Connect 4-like game through ladder climbing in Lepidoptery. And get rid of your cards, some you know and some you don't, in Hungry Monkey. There are so many good ones here. Every one of these will deliver a good time. But some of my personal favorites that I would recommend the most in this group would be I'm Out, Nanatorodori, Yonkai no Yokai, Greasy Spoon, Jungo, Poison, and my two favorites here are Crisps and Spicy. Games 23 to 56 are trick-taking games. These games follow the mechanism of trick-taking, something folks may be familiar with from classic games like Hearts, Spades, Pinochle, Bridge, and the like. The general gist of trick-taking games is this. Someone will play a card of a certain suit, let's say blue, and now everyone around the table is obligated to play a card of the same color, in this case blue, if they have blue in their hand, and the highest would typically win the trick. But in this list, there's a lot of variety, some where you don't follow suit, some you might, and when it comes to trick-taking games, these are fun, thinky card games that really come in all shapes and sizes. Some are really approachable, easy to learn trick takers that all have just that little bit of a clever hook to them. Have adorable singing dogs harmonize right in Vivo. Win your predicted number of tricks as monsters get less scary in Fright Factor. Collect and score sets of adorable Gachapon collectibles in Gachapon Trick. Win tricks of forest creatures while avoiding specific suits in Woodlanders. Win tricks in this must-not-follow game with the ability to make cards stronger. Enemy Anemone. Play cards in rounds of escalating amounts of cards to meet your prediction in Skull King. Play some classic trick-taking, but every card could be a 5 in, well, 5s. Play a riff on Hearts, but avoid those pesky prince's proposals in Rebel Princess. There are cooperative or team-based trick-taking games if you want an experience where people are working together. Work together and accomplish missions, well, unless you're the traitor, in Inside Job. Work together to win holes in golf in Best Shot. Work together silently to meet mission achievements in The Crew. Work in teams, some players playing numbers and some players playing suits in Lunar. Play through the events of Fellowship of the Ring in this masterpiece cooperative game, Lord of the Rings, the trick-taking game. There are even 2-player trick-taking games that are phenomenal for partners or couples who often play games at 2. Work together to navigate a boat across various maps and avoid perils in Sail. Super quickly knock your opponent out of the sumo wrestling ring in Sumo. Win tricks and use special abilities in The Fantastical Fox in the Forest. Balance your personalities and escape from the authorities in Jekyll and Hyde vs. Scotland Yard. Control various territories in the wilderness in Lone Wolves. Some are excellent for regular game nights with the same group of people, where you can develop a dynamic and kind of that unspoken energy between players who are used to playing the games together. Play a delightful card game version of Hot Potato with the Bottle Imp. Use special powers and unique scoring that you draft at the beginning of the round in Tezuma Trick. Ride the wave of tricks with special abilities in a must-not-follow game, Big Wave. See other people's suits, but not the specific cards they have in 9 Lives. Enjoy 3 games in 1 that feel like upgraded traditional card games in Dino Tricks. Let those pesky pups misbehave in Worst in Show. Go retro and play a super classic trick taker in Wizard. Get technical and balance winning and losing tricks in RoboKraft. And then, of course, there are some extra complex or involved trick-taking games that are excellent if you want a little extra crunch or depth to explore. Bet on which veggie monsters are going to win the most in Vegeterrors. Rock on with your 80s neon polar bear where you don't always know what specific card you're playing in Xylotar. Strategically draft all the cards that are going to be in your hand in Reapers. Use trick-taking to draft cards to build your puzzly foliage collection in Folio. Mix in some dice to your card game experience in the beautiful Mori. Play cards that have no suits until the moment they're played in the mind-melty Cat in the Box. Work your best to be the second best in Pumafiosi. Play tricks with constantly changing trump suits through the eras of Henry VIII's wives in 6 of 8. Again, there are so many really, really good ones here. Some of my personal favorites on this list are Cat in the Box, Fright Factor, the Lord of the Rings trick-taking game, the 6 of 8, Rebel Princess, Sumo, and Vivo. Games 57 through 68 are twists on the familiar. These games may remind you of classic card games you grew up playing or still love playing with your family and friends. Do you want something like 21 or Blackjack, but that's a little bit more lighthearted? Well, push your luck with flipping cards without busting in both Fruit Fight and Flip 7. Do you remember War, where you play cards simultaneously to try to see who played the higher number? That was all chance, but let's put some strategy to it. Why don't you try games like Campy Creatures or Air, Land, and Sea Critters at War, which are both extremely strategic, simple card games where you're trying to outdo your opponent. What about wanting to play around with poker-like hands, but not just play poker? You could play the semi-cooperative Combo, the very, very cooperative The Gang, or the very competitive head-to-head lane battler game that uses poker-like hands, Schottentotten, also known as Battle Line, and there's different versions of this from different publishers, but they're all the same game, so it really comes down to which theme is the most appealing to you. Or how about twists on even more classic card games like Rummy, Golf, or even Go Fish? You could check out Cat Blues, Romy Rami, Gnoming Around, Trio, or Circus Flohcati. My favorites here, and these are some of the most outstanding games on this list, period, are Trio, Schottentotten, Circus Flohcati, Fruit Fight, and Campy Creatures. Games 69 through 101 are engaging and interactive. These are going to be in all sorts of categories, so let's go through them. There are card games that will have you manipulating markets and scoring points in really unique and various ways. Collect animals and manipulate their values to score big in Botswana. Adjust the cost of certain soda taps and mess with other people's sodas in Soda Jerk. Create markets of different chameleons and collect just the right ones to succeed in Coloretto. Gather veggies and thus play the farming stock market in Vegetable Stock. Try to manage and collect the most valuable resources in Whale Riders the Card Game, which is the most recent version of a game called Trendy. Draft veggies along with new scoring mechanisms so you have the most profitable sets in Point Salad. Some card games will have you participating in auctions of all sorts, drafting and collecting cards, or maybe even avoiding cards. Check out the card version of one of the greatest board games ever made, Ra, in the card game Ratzia. Or try and be the most successful and wealthy socialite in High Society. Auction on the latest gorgeous fashions in Couture. Try and bid your best in order to avoid taking points in this legendary inverted auction game, No Thanks. Have a great time with your family using clever drafting mechanisms to collect donuts in Go Nuts for Donuts. Collect fabulous dressed dinos by bidding with gems or snacks in Roaring Twenties. Have the most money by spending the least money to have enough of each money to diversify your money in, well, money. Now, these are some fantastic party games, or party-adjacent games that require cooperation, teamwork, or maybe quite the opposite in some of these, but they always result in a ton of fun around the table. Try and work together with clues to put things in numerical order in the brilliant Edo. Try and find the culprit by using word clues to innocent characters in Alibis. Work together to figure out your team's codenames in, well, codenames. Work together to figure out the visual illusion-like sequences in Figment. Try and count cards and predict what's coming next in Fairy. Or catch folks trying to sneak soda past security in Soda Smugglers. Now, there are some games that are shockingly small, the size of super thin wallets or maybe even a pack of gum. And I've absolutely cheated here because the next two games here aren't games, they're companies. Button Shy produces wallet-sized games and some slightly bigger collections of said wallet games like Tussie Mussy or Skulls of Sedlec, but these are fantastic card games that come in the most modest sizes. Paco Games similarly produces small pack of gum-sized and shaped games, and both of these companies produce games that have an incredible amount of depth and fun for such small packages. Some will provide super engaging moments around the table or even intriguing solitaire gems for some quiet time to yourself. You could have a really lively time around the table with these games that I think work well with a decent amount of players playing. Try to manage your tableau of rubber duckies and cover as many as possible in Duck and Cover. Read the room and try and collect different crimes you're investigating in Hot Lead. Collect gold and outdo all the other pirates around the table in Loot. Cleverly play cards and arrange the animals around the watering hole in Kariba. Collect trinkets and treasures from a whimsical forest in Toil and Troubles. Try and make dachshunds in Winston. And work in teams to fulfill contracts of cards in Duos. Get puzzly, thinky, and strategic in some games that I think especially work well for smaller player counts, some of these specifically being designed for 2 players. Create the most legendary cassette of all time by mixing and balancing songs in I Made You a Mixtape. Get the right people in the right elevator at the right time in front of the elevators. Try and knock the other sumo wrestler out of the ring through card counting and balance in Slambo. Collect delightful nautical paper art creations to gather points in Sea, Salt, and Paper. Manage your resources and camels wisely to be the most prosperous in Jaipur. My favorites here are, well, many, as you can see here. Any that you see pictured, I think, are absolutely remarkable, and you definitely should try out. And that is honestly more than 101 games that are better than Uno. And so here's the thing. As I said at the beginning, if you like Uno or some games like Uno that are very mass market, that's fantastic. I just would never want folks to miss out on some amazing games that are out there. So again, if you were curious, hopefully you've made some really good discoveries here today. And pass it along, because even though some of these games are becoming more readily available in a lot of stores, I still feel like many people aren't aware at the amazing cornucopia of awesome games that are out there. And for the record, I really can't undersell how fun some of these games are. I know that we're specifying that these are card games, but in the hobby, we consider card games and board games all under the same umbrella. And a lot of these games that we're talking about today would be on my list of the best games of all time, period. So if you especially want to know a little bit more about some of the ones I marked as my favorites, again, some of these I've done videos on in the past, and I'll have links to those down below as well. But I'm always happy to answer the questions you leave, and look forward to sharing details on some of these games that we really love. There were even more I could have included that I didn't, because they're definitely not first steps from Uno, or because they're not available at the moment. However, I did include Nana Toradori because I have been able to play it on Board Game Arena despite not having played a physical copy. It will soon be available from Kids Table Board Games, and I am so excited about that. This was incredibly fun to put together, and I really hope that in some way it's informative or helpful to you or to someone you know that you're sharing this video with. In the description, I've grouped all of these games by publisher so you can easily find them and check them out. And if you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave them down below. Since we don't have time to get into specifics on all of these different games in the actual video, I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions, so don't hesitate. Thank you so much for watching, liking, and subscribing, and don't forget to always play board games like an animal. And now you do 100 board games that are better than Monopoly. Okay, I didn't say we're starting it.
Really do it, and then 100 games that are better than Yahtzee.
Oh no, what have I started?